how that interacts with the climate action plan. So I know many money market funds, they have a range of investments, don't they? Very broad, which may include kind of certain sectors as well. Is that something that's actively considered?
Well, not currently. I mean, the money market funds, each of them holds, I don't know, hundreds of investments at any one time, all very liquid. From their point of view, all due to mature within, is it 90 days on average? But we don't undertake, or we haven't undertaken any analysis of those underlying investments. The paper trail could be quite extensive with those if they are, well, it's paper investments that the money market kind of chases around at various interest rates, and they are changing on a daily basis. So we haven't, if you like, vetted the money market funds on their social responsibilities and on that basis. That's all I can say for now.
Thank you. I mean, I know from my own experience, it's a challenging area. I mean, it would be an area of interest to see those kind of funds start to be developed. So I think if there is any kind of pressure we can bring to bear in that respect, then it would be helpful. But I appreciate, that's maybe not feasible.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Sue. It is interesting, obviously, the way that things are now, but the metrics are improving and whatever, we can start to think about that. But right now, I think it's quite difficult. And actually, the amount of investment that we have is relatively small in terms of the big picture. Andre.
I was going to say just before you came in that it's refreshing to actually talk about something that doesn't mention the words climate change. We were talking about what we were supposed to be here for, talking about pensions and money and investments. And I often wonder what we used to talk about before the climate emergency. What did the pension committee talk about then? Did we talk about finance? Did we talk about the struggle that pensioners are having, making ends meet? No, but now we'll always seem to talk about is climate change, which is all very extremely important. But caring for our pensioners is number one, and we should be talking about money and the effects of money and how money earns money to pay for our pensioners now and in the future. And yeah, climate change is big. We're taking care of that. I think we're probably one of the most responsible councils that we've got. But we've got to start talking about money and money that it earns for our pensioners, because some of those pensioners are really, really struggling.
I think we do both, Councillor Camilleri. We absolutely do understand all risks, all financial risks, climate and others, in terms of our management of our pensioners' funds. They're not our funds, so we do actually believe and appreciate that. Thank you for your comment, Sue.
Come back on that, please. Yeah. So I understand the point.
Yeah.
Of course, financial stewardship is really important, but I do think we have to acknowledge that along with the pensioners, we have a lot of members and a lot of potential members who this is a very pressing issue and it's an area that they're interested in. And in terms of the longevity of the fund and whether people want to continue to be members as well, I think it is a really important factor. Certainly here as a representative of a large employer, it's something that comes up continually within our organisation. So I think it's right that it's discussed frequently at this committee.
And I think it is. And I think in terms of the work we've done, we've led in a number of aspects in terms of climate risk management in our strategy, our analysis. So I think your members should be happy that we are progressing with that.
Yeah, and it was really helpful recently when it came up to be able to share some of the information that's been made publicly available to share with members, because it can help address those concerns and show that it is being actively discussed.
Thank you. Are there any other comments, questions? Mike, Councillor Pringle.
Thank you, Chairman. Firstly, I'd just like to thank Kieran for his sterling and enthusiastic report that he always delivers in this chamber for us all, the detail of which is never questionable. And to point out again, I know that the cash returns are poor, but they're only 0.5% greater than what Sonia's or Wood Gardens would have been. So, well done. It's actually worked out pretty good. And just to say, thank goodness, there's opposing opinions to Cows the Committee at one end of the scale and myself at the other end of the scale when it comes to climate change.
Okay, I don't see any other hands raised, so we'll move to the vote then, please. All those in favour of the recommendation? And that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 7, which is proxy voting. I mentioned it earlier in an earlier paper. Before I hand over to Kieran, can I move the recommendation which is on page 42, please?
Yeah, I'll second that and reserve the right.
Thank you very much. Kieran, would you like to take us through the proxy voting report, please?
Thanks. This is the proxy voting report for the quarter to December 2021. It comes to the Pension Fund Committee every quarter. Paragraph 5 shows that in those 3 months, Hermes EOS, who votes on behalf of the fund, attended 328 meetings, which were a total of 2,486 resolutions. Below that, I provide the analysis I previously provided, which, as we know, doesn't give the full picture of the issues that the pension fund is concerned with, because the issues are often wrapped up within others that are raised at AGMs to do with board structure and remuneration. But I would add that a detailed analysis of that can be found on the pension fund website. But in addition, paragraph 8 now says that further detail on the specific issues can be found on LGPS Central's quarterly stewardship update, which they produce quarterly, and we link to that now on the pension fund website on its approach to responsible investment web page. So that can, if members are so interested, they can drill down and look into one or two issues that LGPS Central have highlighted as part of the proxy voting process. Thank you, Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Kieran. And we want to ensure that those links are updated as soon as they're available. So you don't need to wait to this meeting to read them. You can go regularly onto the website and have a look as soon as you like. I think I've got Mike Pringle. Did you want to speak? Sorry. Oh, Anne Peach.
Thank you, Chair. And I have raised this before, and I know initially you were just quoting numbers of proxy votes that were taken for. But yeah, I'm pleased to see that we're highlighting significant issues, because you can lose the wood for the trees, really. I just wanted to ask what policy we've got, or process have we got to follow up those decisions. I mean, it's all very well voting, but what happens then? How effective is that voting? And how who monitors what happens after the vote?
Thank you. The feature of engagement is it's not an instant fix. You don't just phone up a company and say, oh, we're not happy about this issue, and they change what they're doing, partly because they can't. So the directors need to do what they perceive as in the best interest of the shareholders. And if just one shareholder phones up and says, well, I don't like this, that's not enough for them to change. And a lot of these changes that we're engaging to try and achieve are big, complex issues, so that it's not an easy fix. So these are it's part of a long-term process. So if a new engagement starts, there'd be contact with the board through any one of our several engagement partners. And then, depending on the response to that, at the point at which it came to voting in the AGM, if there'd been some progress, then it wouldn't change the voting. But if
if Hermes EOS felt that there hadn't been sufficient progress or sufficient engagement, that's when they start to maybe potentially abstain or vote against certain key related votes. And over time, they will up the ante and work with more people and directors will respond if they see a significant number of people voting against. And quite often it will be, if they think the chair isn't engaging, it will be the chair that gets voted against, or the chief executive. So it's part of a long-term process, and sometimes you'll think, oh, we don't like what this company's doing, and you'll see that Hermes is still voting for the board of directors, but that's often because behind the scenes they know there's a lot of work going on, even if they're not at the stage where they've got a public announcement to show the results of that work. So it's definitely true to say that this is all being monitored, and there's a lot of work with other investors, especially within the LGPS, but also wider activist organisations. So they are monitoring the progress of the companies, and that does inform the voting.
At what stage do they feed back anything that's come out of that monitoring? Then, because I can't remember it coming back to this committee, unless I've missed it or it's again.
The problem is there is
subsumed.
a huge wealth of information.
Yeah.
If you when we have the quarterly investment meetings, I circulate investment reports from Schroders, Elgin, Central and Aberdeen, but I also circulate the Schroders engagement report and the Elgin quarterly engagement report and the LAP quarterly report, and all of those have they're long. I wouldn't imagine most people will manage to read the entire reports every single quarter. It would be a big investment in time, but I really would recommend that people at least dip into those to see all the information that is being provided and to see all of the work which is going on, behind the scenes. And you have to remember that the bits that go into those reports are the things they're able to share. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, which because they don't want to unbalance the negotiations they're having with companies, they can't publish until things have been agreed. We are also working with Central to see if there is a better way of summarising some of the key issues in a way that's more of a bite-size report that we can bring to committee. But because of the long-term nature of the engagement process and just because of the sheer volume of work, that is quite a difficult challenge, but it is one we're working on.
To put that in context, Anne, I think our investment managers are working on a daily basis with the companies to encourage them to improve their ways and to get better returns. So that engagement is part of ordinary investment management work, and this is sort of the more difficult results. Yeah. Mike, did you indicate?
Yes, Chairman, and just to applaud, really, I understand what I'm saying, but to applaud the way that proxy voting is offered to us now and the detail that comes with it, because Kieran's responded to every question that has been thrown at him, and with support from others, I'm sure, but providing us with the details that we've asked for. And I'm sure if we needed to pick a specific out, although commercially sensitive throughout that time, when there was availability of reports coming to us, I would imagine we would get these reports. So I think this is a real positive, and Kieran should be applauded for his efforts in this, because let's face it, proxy voting, what the hell does proxy voting mean? You know, all you see is a black and white pie chart at the end of the day. Great, you know, but we flip that round with the questions that is answered. So I applaud it. I think there's more that we can do, as Anne's pointed out. But I appreciate the timescale and the commercial sensitivity of a lot of what's happening behind the in the background. But well done, Kieran. You know, pat yourself on the back and go and have a pint, mate, at dinner time. I'm sure the chairman will take you for a while.
Well, thank you for your comments, Mike. And just to say, I think the members of the public need to be aware of all that extra work that does go on in the background, and actually in our investment management meetings with the investment manager who in future will be hopefully coming back here rather than on Teams in the future, in the excluded part of our committee. Once we've done all the other business, we have the confidential meetings with the investment managers, and you're able to challenge them on any of these issues, and we do challenge them, which I think is really good and shows that we do care about all those issues. We care about the returns for our pensioners. We care about ESG, and we'll continue to do that work in the future. So thank you for that.
Just to add on to that as well, and you're dead right. I think the committee itself has become more openly challenging in the time that I've been on it. And again, I want to include William in that with his advice and the way that he offers diversity to the questions that I would ask compared to his opinion. So I think all in all, you know, we're at different ends of the spectrum of climate change, as we understand. But I think the pension fund is delivering extremely good value for money in a very temperate environment at this moment.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any other indications, so if we'd like to move to the vote, then I think that was it on page 42. It is. All those in favour, please. And that is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 8, which is the Local Authority Pension Fund Forum business meeting. Again, it's a report to Kieran, but I'll move the recommendation on page 46.
I'll second that and reserve the right.
Thank you. Kieran.
Thank you, Chair. The quarterly report on the quarterly business meeting held by the Local Authority Pension Fund Forum. This one was held online on the 26th of January. The main issues considered at this meeting concerned human rights within the mining industry, with a particular focus on BHP and Rio Tinto, and also engagement with water companies. I think at the time, or just prior to the meeting, there'd been a lot of stories in the news about river pollution, certainly in this country, and engagement with the water companies featured heavily as part of the LAP engagement work in the quarter prior to that, on how to deal with climate change, the increased risk of flooding, and any consequent risk of pollution. Just to highlight that there is a second recommendation of this report, because we only normally have recommendation 1, but recommendation 2, that the Pension Fund Committee expresses its support to LAP for its engagement and research work it undertakes, and on that basis we continue our membership accordingly, along with the other 87 pension funds and 7 pools.
Thank you,
Chair.
Kieran. Okay, so do support that. They do a lot of good work. So it brings a lot of the pension fund together, so they get a big whole view of how the whole market is operating and wants to see them move. So, are there any comments or questions about the monthly reports, please? I don't see any. So, can we then go to the vote on the recommendations, and particularly item number 2, where we continue our membership? All those in favour, please. And that's unanimous again. Thank you very, very much for that. Moving on to item number 9, which is our work programme. On the yellow pages at the back, and the recommendation is on the white page on page 50. So I'll move that.
I'll second that. Reserves the right.
Thank you, Councillor Camilleri. Do we have any questions? Sorry, Tamsin, do you want to take us through the work programme?
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to refer members to the work programme for the rest of the committee meetings of the cycle and ask if anybody would like to identify any additional reports required.
Just for confirmation, can I just check, are the dates still correct? We've had some date changes recently. I don't know if that's...
I think that one's me, Chairman. We have had a change of date for the July meeting, which is shifting from the 14th to the 21st.
Yes.
Members were notified about that change yesterday, so you should all have received updated invitations. Dates beyond July are still being worked up, and we'll share them with members as soon as they're available.
Thank you very much. But the business on that meeting date stays the same. Any questions or comments, please? No, not yet.
21st.
So the future dates will be as and when with the new system comes into being, hopefully, if it does, we hope it does, then there'll be some more dates falling out for the future meetings of the committee. So we'll let you know those as soon as possible and get them in your diaries as soon as possible. Any questions or comments, please? Councillor Pringle.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just a recognition of non-voting members and any advancements on their involvement at all. Yeah,
it's on the thing. There's the work we conducted in autumn, following all the work that we're doing now on the new cabinet system, and we hope to implement those from the start of next year or earlier, depending on what the outcomes are. So it's in. Again, we haven't got a dates to put them in yet, but we will put them in hopefully as soon as possible. No, fine. That's absolutely fine. Thank you. Any other questions or comments, please? No? Okay, so I've moved the recommendation. Can we approve the work programme, please? All those in favour? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you very, very much. I think that is the end of the business for the meeting. So thank you all very, very much for your attendance, and hopefully we'll see you all again on the 9th of June. Have a good May bank holiday and also Queen's Jubilee. So well done. Cheerio. Thanks very much, everybody.